All right, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to each and every one of you guys. So, hmm, I was hearing a lot of stuff. Hold on one second. So I was hearing a lot of stuff, but before I do that, shout out to the Most High God. Shout out to the Most High God. How's everybody doing? This is a quick little, um, this is a quick little uh, chat section. We're gonna have a little stream, and we're gonna talk about, as the title says, should Mikey's corner have thrown in the towel? Because I'm hearing a lot of even professional people, boxers and so on, saying Mikey should have thrown in the towel. He was taking too much punishment, and so I'm amazed by that. Um, Now I heard from Robert Garcia himself. I heard also from Errol Spence, and I'm gonna let them say their piece first. But before we get to that, let's go across here and sort this out. All right, you guys can leave your comments in the chat section. You can leave your comments in the chat section. This is a chat. We're gonna talk a little bit of discussion on this, and you know, you guys gotta know boxing, man. I keep on telling people, it's not. It's this is called boxing. It's not called man down, right? And while Errol did outbox Mikey Garcia, I give him that. And even Mikey, I think, is being a little too hard on himself in terms of, okay, he was going in there to try and get the win, and you had a fight which was offensively, it wasn't competitive at all. Errol was the guy tagging you. You wasn't tagging Errol as much as you wanted to. But at the end of the day, it showed certain skills that Mikey has and what Mikey does in that ring. And for a lot of other fighters who are watching this fight against Errol versus Mikey, they're gonna learn a thing or two about how to approach Errol, right? But anyway, let's go to let's talk about, should Mikey's corner have thrown in the towel? Because that's what some people are saying. Saying Mikey's corner should have thrown in the towel. I heard Andre Ward say that, and I was amazed that Andre Ward would say something like that, knowing as much boxing as he does know. And Errol Spence actually gave the answer. So Errol Spence knows what happened. And Errol even was surprised by certain things that happened in that ring. The other thing that I want to say is I do believe that Errol is like the second coming. He's going to be like the Floyd Mayweather of this era. I do believe that. That is true. Well, it's still going to be a toss-up. It's going to be him, Gervonta Davis, Canelo. Like I said, and I said it, I think I even mentioned Errol Spence in that equation. I think guys like Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia, these guys they look like they're going to be in vying for that top spot, that Mayweather spot. Now Mikey's lost a fight. I still don't know, because I don't know what Mikey's going to do with his next fight. But all of these guys could be TBE. They could be the best ever. Well, of course, Mikey was beaten by Errol, so he's not necessarily TBE. But then again, we don't know what could happen. Canelo was able to redeem most of, he had one loss against Floyd. But again, that doesn't mean that he can't supersede Floyd by how his career goes. Remember, I told you losses don't mean that you're not TBE. Yeah, you got beaten by this guy. What happened after that? Sometimes you never get a chance to rematch the guy, so it is what it is. But and so some people say, well, you're not TBE. But if you rematch the person and you beat them, depending on the level of opposition we're talking about, like, okay, for instance, when Muhammad Ali was beaten by Leon Spinks, you can't be TBE and you're beaten by an inexperienced fighter like that. I don't care what. You got too much experience. You're a veteran. You're not supposed to be beaten by a guy like that. I know styles make fights, but if you're TBE, you can't. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're young, you're coming up young, and you lose a fight. Take, for instance, Sugar Ray Robinson. He lost a fight to Jake LaMotta early in the game. He wasn't a world champion or anything. He's still learning on the job. Okay, fair enough. You look at and he beat Jake LaMotta after that really bad and so on. Okay, fair enough. But Floyd was able to do better, right? Floyd was able to do better against bigger guys. Outweighed him significantly. Carlos Baldomir fights. Even before, well, I think before he was world champion, he didn't face that kind of competition. But After he was early in his championship career, he faced Diego Corrales, he faced Carlos, I forgot what his surname is, and he faced another relentless little fighter. Both of them became world champions after. Forgetting what their names are, it's crazy. Carlos Chavez. Okay, so it was something Chavez and Carlos. Shit, I can't remember the name for nothing, right? But anyway, he faced those guys. Then he went on to face, besides Diego Corrales, went on to face Jose Luis Castillo, and so on and so on. Bigger guys, right? My point anyway is he was able to succeed where Sugar Ray Robinson was not able to succeed with that challenge. All right, Sugar Ray Robinson, of course, succeeded eventually, but then again he lost to another challenge. He did redeem himself, but he lost. And even in the fight where he redeemed himself, it was really bailed out by his power, as the guy was outboxing. So when you look at the best ever, you got to look at, okay, I lost to this guy. Was I green? Maybe later on in my career, I was doing better. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just about winning or losing, but it does matter who you beat. It does matter that how long it took you to beat that person. You know what I mean? You know, for example, you may have lost a fight that you shouldn't have lost. Like, for instance, Sugar Ray Leonard lost to Roberto Duran because Roberto Duran got into his head. So that kind of goes against Sugar Ray because it's a smaller guy. You fought his fight. Hey, which reminds me, at a certain point, Errol Spence was actually fighting Mikey Garcia's fight, which I thought was very interesting. And that sounds counterintuitive because Mikey Garcia generally doesn't fight on the inside. Not really inside, known as the inside fighter. But Mikey Garcia had to fight on the inside to get to Errol Spence. So Mikey started to work on the inside to get to Errol Spence. I hope Mikey and Robert Garcia will look back at the tape of the fight to see where Mikey was actually succeeding with Errol Spence. And they will find out that when Mikey was on the inside, fighting in the phone booth against Errol Spence, pushing him back, he was actually succeeding. He was having a lot more success than when he was fighting on the outside. Now, it is true that after the 10th round, in the 11th round, Errol Spence, I think Errol Spence was on the outside, though. Errol Spence tried to clear him off using the forearm, and then he used the jab to clear him out, and then he caught him with the left hook, and that hurt Mikey in the 11th, right? But by and large, Mikey staying close to Errol Spence and fighting him in the phone booth on the inside was the way to go. You know, and Mikey did exactly the right things he needed to do. When Errol started to throw his barrage, Mikey would just shell up, you know, catch the shots and stuff. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that. So I'm just saying that if they really look later on in the fight, which is ironic because Mikey Garcia was known to fade later on in fights, but in this fight, he did not fade. He actually was able to keep his composure and then work off a strategy that actually started to work against Errol Spence. And I don't know if anybody really is paying attention to that. Errol is a great inside fighter, but Errol didn't expect Mikey to come at him like that and even push him back. Mikey was pushing him back because Mikey was counterpunching Errol shot for shot. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. So, you know, Errol still needed that clearance against Mikey. And it's because of how Mikey positioned his body when coming on the inside. And seeing all of these technical things is what make Mikey different to the other opponents Errol has faced. And Errol even acknowledged it. But anyway, we're going too far. Should they have thrown in the towel? That's the question, right? Should they have thrown in the towel? Hold on a second. Right. We are. Cool. All right. So, all right. Okay. So I'm gonna stay here so I can see you guys' comments. So should Mikey Garcia have thrown in the towel? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play for you. And a reporter asked Errol Spence that question. He basically got the same question twice, right? Because these reporters are very redundant from two different reporters. But listen to what Errol Spence had to say about Mikey Garcia. And he had to give Mikey his credit. He had to give Mikey his due. So this is what Errol said. Make sure the volume is up. Anyway, before I do that, I was also hearing a lot of black channels especially saying, you know, Errol killed Mikey. You know, he slayed Mikey, beat him up. I heard that from Boxing Eagle. I heard it from Fanon's boxing channel. I was hearing it from different boxing channels. And I was like, y'all didn't watch the same fight I watched, right? Nobody got beat up. If Mikey got beat up, his face wouldn't look like how it looked. He had a mark underneath his eye, left eye. He had a little bit of bumps on his head, but that's about it, right? So if Mikey had gotten beaten up, he wouldn't be having a conversation post fight. First of all right. Two, he wouldn't be in the condition in the ring to be constantly, after Errol Spence throw his barrage and stuff, countering him and pushing him to the center of the ring. Errol Spence, once he gets you on the ropes, he works you on the ropes, and you ain't making it out. Mikey made it out. So I think you guys need to watch that fight again. But anyways, let's hear what Errol Spence had to say on this, so that bullshit could be annulled. Because I hate people talking a whole set of rubbish. I don't know what they saw, but sometimes people need to really revise what they say. I'm just gonna play the audio. I don't want to get flagged. Maybe I can do the video. Let me see if I can get the video on my phone. So let me get the video on my phone. All right. You guys bear with me. I'll get the video on my phone. But first, I just want you guys to hear the audio on this. Let's go.
I did hear that they was planning on stopping the fight. His brother was, but Mikey wanted to keep going. Mikey has a lot of heart. I think he prided himself on being, a tough, Mexican fighter. They're born and bred just for big hearts. So he didn't want to stop it. And I was kind of surprised he was taking the shots, but then again, he's a veteran. He done sparred, since a little kid with top guys, Evan Valero and other guys. So I knew that he has good composure, has good fundamentals, and has good ability. So his defense was on point. So a lot of shots, he started picking off, and I think in the later rounds he kind of went in survival mode and kept just doing enough just to stay in the fight a little bit.
So you heard it from Errol Spence, and that's what I saw. I didn't see what Andre Ward was talking about. I even heard the coach of Errol Spence, Derek James. He was saying that Mikey's career now is shot, and Errol wrecked his career. A whole set of bullshit. And Derek James knows better. He knows that Mikey's defense kept him in the game, and they didn't get the man down. And here's what Errol Spence had to say about that.
I'd like to know. I'm probably one of the few in here that gave Garcia the second and the third round. Coming into the fourth round, it seemed like you exhibited all that pissed offness that you shared, and then just went to destroying this guy. What was different coming out from the third round to the fourth round?
I'm just working off the game plan. I mean, we wanted to fill him out through the rounds and see how he was gonna come. And then the fourth round, I feel like I could get him. But I didn't get him in the fourth round, so I went back to throwing my jab and picking him off, and then I tried to go get him again, and I just couldn't get him out of there. So I tried to press on the gas, but it wasn't a man down tonight.
The next round, that's when you're really trying to put it to him. It looked like you was really trying to dig deep with body punches.
Yeah, I was trying to stop him, or either his corner stopped the fight, but they wasn't budging. I was like, damn.
So you heard it from Errol Spence himself. Errol knew what was going on in that ring. All right, if it's anybody who would know what was going on in the ring, it would be Errol, right? Errol and Mikey, because they're fighting each other. They're the ones feeling the blows. They're the ones that are being affected. So if you really pay attention to that, all right, obviously Errol realized he couldn't get the stoppage. But what Errol's leaving out, a lot of you guys not realizing this, Mikey was actually hitting Errol. That's why Errol couldn't press the action like he wanted to. Mikey would counterpunch Errol, all right? And when he counterpunched Errol, he counterpunched him to the body or to the head, Errol would back the fuck off because Errol realized, this shit ain't flying. I ain't trying to get hit by this guy, right? And it's very smart and defensively sensible to do that because Errol came out of the fight looking squeaky clean. He didn't really get any damage from the fight. All right. I want to I'm gonna go to fight hype here.
As a brother, how hard was it for you not to, going
and my dad told me to do it before the round ended, but going into the ring, and when I told Mikey, you know, it's too much, I'm gonna stop it. He told me, look, I'm not winning the rounds. I know I'm not winning, and I'm not winning the fight, but I'm not getting hurt either. I'm blocking a lot, and he told me he did tell me that a body shot got him really good, but not to a point where it was that bad to go down. And the head punches, he told me that, you know, he felt them because obviously Arrow hits very hard, but that he was never hurt. So I told him, okay, I'm gonna give you a few more rounds, but if I see that punishment, I'm gonna stop it. He says, don't stop it. My son also said, look, he wants to finish, let him finish, and he did. You know, he survived. He finished without taking too much punishment where he had to go to the hospital or anything like that. He was fine after the fight. He was able to go to the press conference. He was able to go to his family right after the fight without any need to go see a doctor or go to the hospital or anything like that. So, you know, we were happy.
How much of a moral victory for you guys is it that he went 12?
Okay, so then they talk about moral victory, which obviously champions like Mikey Garcia don't give a fuck about because it's not about moral victory. He came in there to win. In fact, there's two other things which is really cool. One of the things that Mikey, you know, when Mikey wanted the extra round after the 11th round, you know, he came in as the 12th. You saw Mikey win the 12th, and he pushed Errol Spence back. But the more important thing to understand is Mikey had a will to win. He knew he had to stop Errol Spence, but he had a will to win. In other words, Mikey didn't just want to finish off the fight to say he finished. He was trying to solve the puzzle of Errol Spence. Right? He doesn't still feel. I think Mikey doesn't still feel confident that he solved the puzzle. But I would say if Robert Garcia and company with Limited would pay attention, they should look at rounds 10 to 12. Because even though he did get caught with a good punch in round 11 when Errol Spence was bringing the barrage of offense on him, he didn't really get caught with anything else of substance. And he was able to counterpunch Spence at the end of the round. Spence gave a smile when he realized, oh, this motherfucker's still alive, right? My point being, and Mikey actually pushed him back, I think, in the 11th round. I think most people would give Spence the 11th round, right? But honestly, the major thing in the 11th round was the body punch. That was the punch that Spence really did well. But everything else, Mikey pretty much, again, picked off those shots. But here's the thing. The thing is, what let Mikey down, and which is why Mikey's kind of feeling a howl, is he couldn't really mount the offense he wanted to mount on Errol Spence. Errol Spence was saying he was offsetting him with the jab. But if you pay attention, he was offsetting him with the jab and moving back with good footwork in the beginning. Later on, Mikey had figured a way to get past the jab. But it involved lunging or leaping left hooks, which Spence would either pivot away from, or if Mikey got him in a clinch or something, Mikey didn't really clinch up, it was more Spence clinching up. But if Mikey got in close on him, he had to press him to the ropes to really bang on him. And Spence was still countering. So I saw them going toe-to-toe in the center of the ring where Mikey had to. But Mikey realized the strangest thing, the strength of Errol Spence is his inside game. Mikey had to cramp Errol Spence for distance so he could get the position on certain shots and land those shots on Errol Spence. And there was some telling shots Mikey landed on Errol Spence, some body shots that were really good. Errol Spence didn't want nothing to do with it. He backed the fuck out. He backed the fuck off of Mikey every time he landed those critical shots. And I told you Mikey could punch, and Errol was smart enough to negate that power. So you never really saw Errol. He couldn't bully Mikey. Let's put it that way. He was going off his boxing. That's why he was pushing Mikey back. And Mikey had to go back because he had to maintain a certain distance. But by and large, Errol Spence was boxing Mikey. And that's the thing that was really awesome about this fight. Errol Spence was outboxing Mikey. I would still say, though, that Mikey, I'm sure Errol Spence learned a couple things from this fight. But in addition, I think that Mikey is a hell of a fighter, right? Nobody want to hear about no consolation prize. They don't want to hear about moral victory. Fuck that. It was about you winning the fight to win, right? But I think Mikey, if other fighters are paying attention to what Mikey did, it would show how you could navigate certain things and actually succeed at getting to tussle with Errol Spence and actually get to trade off certain things with him or land certain punches. And because Mikey was so fundamentally sound, what Errol Spence had to give credit for, he wasn't really landing as much punches as the fucking CompuBox stats was saying. That was bullshit. CompuBox was talking a load of shit. He may have threw 1,000 punches, but he sure as hell didn't land 300 and something punches. I don't know what the fuck they were watching. And then you had punches that were partially blocked or punches that were ridden. All right, so even if Spence landed a punch on Mikey, Mikey would just roll this way with the punch, and I take the steam off the punch. So there's all those little tricky things that I told you guys were things that you could do in a fight, and Mikey literally did those things. So kudos to Mikey on that. I know he was going in to win, make history and all of that, so I get it. So he'll be disappointed about that. But I would say that he held his own against Errol Spence defensively, and he tried to hold his own offensively. He got success more later on in the fight against Errol. And in that respect, I hope that he's figuring out how to deal with taller, longer fighters who could actually use their jab appropriately for the situation. This fight was kind of like Mayweather versus Pacquiao, except much more skilled fighters. And that's why I said, I think Errol could win this, but I had the wrong reasons. I thought Errol would work better on the inside and break down Mikey. He actually didn't break down Mikey. So that's kind of interesting. The thing that really worked for Spence was the jab. The jab worked all night, kind of like with Mayweather Pacquiao. The jab worked all night. And being the taller, longer guy, that's what he used to keep the shorter guy off of him. Mikey didn't do enough bobbing and weaving, though. He would do the dips. He would dip down, do this like Canelo. Boop, 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 right? I saw him doing dips, and it actually worked. The dips worked. And he could come up top with a shot off the dip, a leaping left hook, whatever, leaping right hook, whatever. That's what he should have done a little bit more of. Now, the thing about it, though, is that, Spence can pivot very well. I told you his pivot work is crazy. So even if Spence see that about 2 or 3 times, he gonna pivot away from the shot, and pretty much you'd be leaping into the air. You know what I'm saying? But I do think, though, you have to vary your attack with Errol Spence. He did a fantastic job and stayed really sharp throughout the fight, Errol. But Errol's realizing you can't win every single fight trying to stop a guy. It don't always work. And as you face higher level competition, like guys like Keith Thurman in there, or even Terrence Crawford in there, you're going to find out you can't stop them guys. You're not going to stop them. He might be able to stop Sean Porter. Sean Porter likes to fight on the inside. But again, Errol likes to fight on the inside. So if Porter is not doing what he's supposed to do on the inside, Errol will tag his ass up, right? And Kell Brook was tough. Errol gonna butcher his ass, because you can't just leap in on an Errol like that. But Sean has a really great shotgun jab. He's a big, strong guy as well. And he has the quickness factor. Errol has quickness too. So it'll be interesting. I would love to see Porter versus Spence, but I think right now the fight that we need to see is Pacquiao versus Spence. You know what I'm saying? Pacquiao versus Spence. So anyway, should Mikey's corner have stopped the fight? In my opinion, my humble opinion, no. There was no reason to stop the fight. And I saw that from the get-go. A lot of shots that Errol Spence was throwing on Mikey Garcia were blocked, parried, slipped, rolled, etc. Mikey was up to the task. So, no. I wish Mikey had stayed small, a little bit smaller. That means you changed. But he knows what he saw in there. So I wouldn't really, because Spence was, the other problem would be small to leap up. You have to do a leaping left hook, and you miscalculate that shit, you could pay for that. So, but Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence, I want to see that fight. I do think, though, Errol Spence will pretty much keep Pacquiao at the end of his jab if he wants to. And then Pacquiao's not a guy that really is as versatile as Mikey Garcia is. Pacquiao can fight on the inside a little bit, but he's not really an inside fighter. He's not known for that. I'd love to see Pacquiao you know, try to beat Errol Spence. I love to see that. And it looks like from the trending that this fight really trended well. I saw it was number 6 on the trending, which means a heap of people watched this fight on pay-per-view, which is going to be great. I would love to see the pay-per-view numbers for the fight as well. But no, all of these channels and all of these so-called professionals that are speaking, and some of the professionals like Andrew Ward, I was shocked. I don't know what Floyd said. I knew Floyd watched the fight live. I don't know what his comments on the fight were, but definitely was a boxing clinic by Errol Spence. Definitely, even though Mikey was doing a lot of good things in there, he just couldn't land the punches he wanted to land. Errol ensured that that didn't happen. There was not much more Errol could do. You know, he tried to get Mikey out of there, as he said multiple times. It wasn't going to happen. A lot of people thought that he would get Mikey out of there. I just didn't see it. Everybody had predicted it would be competitive early, and then later on, you know, those punches would take a toll on Mikey. That didn't happen. Was it competitive? No, not really. From the get-go, it wasn't competitive. Errol established his jab from early, and pretty much when talking about scoring and boxing, Errol was the guy that was more getting the telling blows in. So the fight wasn't even competitive from the beginning in that respect. In terms of strategy, tactics, and what was going on straight throughout the fight, it was very competitive. You know, it was very competitive. Errol was up to the task of Mikey, but, you know, if Errol slipped up, you know, Mikey would land on him. So it was competitive in that respect. I liked it. It was intriguing, you know, intriguing right down to the end. And again, looking at the 12th round, what Mikey was able to do in the 12th round, I heard one asshole, which was Fan on Boxing Channel, say Errol was having pity on Mikey in the 12th, and so he allowed him to take the 12th. And I'm like, motherfucker, nobody had pity on nobody in a boxing ring. I remember they said that about Pacquiao versus Brandon Rios. That's bullshit. Pacquiao couldn't stop Brandon Rios. It's just what it is, you know. And with Mikey was bringing the fucking heat. So what are you gonna do? Mikey was like, I'm coming for your ass. I'm gonna take off your head. You understand what I'm saying? Mikey was, because he knew he had to knock out Errol, so he was coming for him. He was walking to him. He was walking his ass down. Nothing Errol could throw was deterring Mikey, because Mikey could pick it off, block it. You know, he had felt Errol's power. He's like, you know, I was like Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. You know, I'm gonna catch the shot here, and I'm walking to you with my hands up. I'm gonna walk your ass down. To see the smaller guy walking down the bigger guy was pretty impressive. I saw Mikey do it a couple of times against Errol. Just once Mikey's walking to him, he's walking to him, you know, and Errol couldn't do nothing. He was just pushing Errol back. It was impressive. And so there's a lot of things that Mikey knew he could do, and he was doing them. And I'd never seen shit like that, you know. And so when a lot of people saying that, you know, Adrian Broner, you know, Mikey was walking to him and just picking him apart, you know, I believe it now, because he walked down Errol Spence. Motherfucker walked down Errol Spence. And we're not talking about trying to maintain distance. He literally got on the inside and started walking Errol Spence down. He started pushing. Mikey pushed Errol off the ropes. He walked Errol through his barrage. And when Mikey was finished, Mikey walked him down to the rope. At first, Mikey was turning him, and Mikey would be on the outside. Mikey was like, fuck this. He caught it. Whoop, 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 whoop. Got hit with the jab. Whoop, whoop. It was like, fuck you. He dipped low, and he started walking. He just pushed Errol back. I started walking him back. I was like, what the fuck? Walked him back. First, he caught him, I think, with a counter punch, and then he just walked his ass back. I was like, what? To the center of the ring, and then he walked his ass to the ropes. I was like, what? And that's just because he's shorter. So at a lower center of gravity, I can get lower than you, and I can push you. I can bully you back with my shoulder. Like a la Floyd Mayweather. Get under you and bump you with the shoulder and walk you back and be landing shots on you at the same time. So that shit was clinic. Again, look at the angles at which these guys angle each other. So there's a certain angle you got with an opponent. And because Errol, how did I put this? Since Errol could pivot, even though Errol pivot, Mikey would go with him. So that's why Errol couldn't land certain shots on Mikey. Mikey couldn't land certain shots on Errol. When you bump your opponent, right? Any shot that they do, their body move a certain way, and your body would angle with that, so that it throws off the shot. So it's that kind of shit was going on. That's what I said. This was a fucking good fight. I mean, if you guys understand boxing and know boxing, you would appreciate the fight and the skill of these guys. Because sometimes Mikey come in with a spear jab. Sometimes you fall short of it, of course, because Errol could easily adjust the distance or pivot away. When Mikey was also turning Errol towards Mikey's right, you would see Mikey stay outside. So if Errol decided to strike at him with the left hand, if you look at the footwork, Mikey's foot was always on the outside of Errol's foot to keep Errol from coming in. And Errol even came in sometimes and even landed that jab on Mikey because Errol now knew distance control and he knew he could reach a certain distance. So he just make a bigger step and strike, you know. Mikey made the adjustment by rolling under the shot so he could keep out of the way of the shot. I saw Mikey actually go on his bike pedal a time and actually bounce, or not bounce, but kind of skip around the ring, you know, do a shuffle and circle out and come back in on an Errol. It's like all of this shit, y'all. I don't know what y'all watch, man. If y'all understand boxing, man, you know, Pacquiao did some good things with Mayweather. Now, having said that, obviously Garcia got outboxed, right? Errol used his height, his reach, outboxed Garcia. But Garcia got a lot of skill, man. I saw him jab off the pivot. I saw him jab. I saw him throw a triple jab while pivoting. That shit. He threw a jab off the front foot. He threw a jab off the back foot. I saw him throw the jab in position. There's a lot of shit he was doing, man. And it really, like I said before, yeah, he was the shorter fighter. Yeah, he didn't have the reach. Errol used his reach. But if you look at skills, Mikey was doing all kinds of things to try and get inside on Errol. And but you know, you have a certain distance you can strike in. And so he knew what the distance was, and he knew Errol was keeping him outside of that range. So no matter what he did, he couldn't get on the inside of Errol because Errol was really precise in how he put his feet as well, you know. So Mikey realized, now this dude, he got an answer for everything I'm trying to give him. But he wasn't frustrated. He kept on keeping his composure, trying to do different things. Errol was saying in the press conference, he said, if Mikey didn't talk so much, I probably wouldn't have been as ready as I was ready. He might have caught me unawares with certain things. But he said it just got me even more prepared for him. So kudos to Errol Spence on that. Definitely boxed beautifully. Shut out Mikey Garcia, basically 8-4, 9-3. That was the kind of fight it was. I gave Mikey the 10th. I gave him the 2nd, and I gave him the 12th. Right? Some people say 2nd and 3rd. I don't know about the 2nd and 3rd. I think 3rd was a good fight. 3rd was a good round too. Mikey did some good things in the 3rd. But definitely Mikey took the 10th. He took the 12th. And he took the 2nd round for sure. The other rounds, not so much. Mikey would be punching the air after different rounds because mentally he was doing certain things to Errol Spence. So mentally, Errol Spence was like, you heard Errol Spence, he was like, I was trying to get him out of there, but the motherfuckers wasn't moving. It wasn't budging. Another time Errol said, you know, we were thinking they would throw in the towel and they wouldn't budge. They wouldn't budge from throwing in the towel. And that's the truth. I mean, as much as people wanted to call Mikey's grandfather wanted to call the fight and Robert, Mikey was never in that danger. Yeah, Errol Spence hit him with some good shots. He was never in that danger of, you know, being destroyed or, you know, assassination or it's the end of Mikey Garcia. It was never like that. It wasn't a Lamont Peterson fight. Let's put it that way. You saw Lamont Peterson's face. You saw Lamont Peterson's body. You saw Errol destroy Lamont Peterson. But I told y'all, Mikey's not Lamont Peterson. He's not. He's not Chris Algieri. He's not Chris Algieri. And the sad thing about it is Chris Algieri actually had a better chance of beating Errol Spence than Mikey Garcia did. He was just indisciplined. He wouldn't stick to the game plan. Mikey followed the game plan that he had perfectly, but he just didn't have the reach advantage to be able to implement that game plan like how he really wanted to do it. Chris Algieri could have done that, but he just abandoned the game plan and decided to walk to Errol Spence straight on. He got tagged up, and that was it, right? So that's why I told you guys, when you turn Errol, which was what Mikey was doing, he was turning Errol. When you turn Errol, you have an opportunity to hit him. Errol, I gotta say though, Errol was different too. When Chris Algieri was there, he was tagging Errol. This fight, Errol was ready for that. And you see that they worked on the defense. They really worked on their defense. Let me tell you something. If Errol didn't work on his defense, Mikey would have outpointed him because he would have been able to hit him with some of them shots that he was doing. But Errol worked on his defense, so he was sharp. His defense was sharp. You know, but the nice thing about both fighters is they're not catching each other with like multiple punches. All of those combinations Errol was throwing on Mikey was catching it, rolling it, whatever. But the jab was the key with Errol. Errol's jab was the thing that was really working for him. Not even the lead left. That wasn't even working for him. It was the jab that was working for him more than any other punch. He landed a left hook here or there. He landed a right hook here or there. But mostly the jab was working for him. And with Mikey, well, Mikey don't throw if Mikey don't think he can hit. So when he was falling short, he was like, okay, fine. So Mikey here and there very rarely would land like a right hook or a left to the body or a right to the body. You know, very little jabs he would land. I think he landed a couple jabs in the fight because of the angle. Again, it's the angle. So if I'm circling this way and I catch you off the angle, you could be throwing a punch this way. It don't matter. Your reach don't matter. And that's what Mikey do. He slightly changed the angle and he'd be able to counter Errol. You know, he hardly landed lead rights on Errol. Again, it makes sense. Errol landed more lead lefts than Mikey did. It makes sense because Errol longer. But I think Mikey could have done some more things if he had implemented, like as I said, for changing levels. But either Mikey doesn't know how to bob and weave and move, or he can, because see, let me show you something. Shit. He dips, and he changes head slots, right? But he would dip on the spot. You got to walk to Errol and then be dipping and moving. See, you keep your hands up and you're dipping and moving and you're walking him down. That's what you got to do. But you got to do it off an angle, because if you stand straight in front of Errol, he'll crucify you. Which is what happened with Lamont Peterson. He was walking down Errol, yeah, but Errol was walking him around in a circle. And he was just beating the shit out of him. First, he started landing straight shots on his hands and stuff, and he started hook around it. So you can't just walk to Errol, and Mikey knew that. So, but you got to walk him down. You got to walk Errol down. You got to walk him down, and so that's where Mikey had his most success, on the inside, walking Errol down, pushing him back. That's where he had his most success. He even pushed him to the ropes and shit like that, and landed some punches. Of course, he had to move a little faster, kind of like a la Andre Ward versus Sergio Kovalev. You kind of got speed in there with your hands up and roll in. You can't just walk. Like you do like Lamont Peterson, you try to walk the guy down. That's stupid. And then you have to have foot position on Errol, because if you don't have your foot on the outside of Errol's foot, he'll land a punch on you. Nothing you can do about it. So it's all these little tricks Mikey was doing, judging distance and trying to get in on the inside of Errol, you know. But that's where he got his most of his success, which is crazy, because that's like walking into the belly of the beast, and you have your arsenal, and you have to outgun that beast. So I mean, that's a tough challenge. But he did it, man. He actually had some success with that. So basically, I think that Mikey's corner should not have stopped the fight, obviously, and I do believe that. He had the discipline and everything. It's just he didn't have an answer for the jab at first, and then he started to get an answer for the jab later on in the fight. He figured out, okay, I got to get past the jab, like Canelo or like all these other guys. I got to get to the inside of this dude, and then I got to battle him on the inside. That's what I had to do, which is Errol's territory, right? Once you give him enough space, he's going. And so they went toe for toe. I saw them battling on the inside. It was very good. It was very good stuff. You know, and that's what you have to do. So I think if Mikey had brought that heat from round one, which would be very hard for him to do because he had to feel out Errol. If he had done that from round one, I think he would have gotten more success against Errol. I'm not saying he would have win the fight, but he would have gotten more success, because now you really putting pressure on Errol to have to, you know, deal with something that he doesn't think you're good as him with. And Mikey surprised Errol a couple of times on the inside, I noticed, with those body shots. And he surprised me. I didn't know he could throw body shots like that. So, I mean, we will see. We'll see what happens with Mikey Garcia later on. They're talking about going down to the lower weight classes. I don't think so. I think Mikey can do whatever he wants to do because Errol's the hardest 147 pounder you're going to face. You know, that's the toughest 147 pounder. If he wants to stay at 147, he can do that. If he wants to go back down to lightweight, he can do that. If he wants to stay at super lightweight, he can do that. But at the end of the day, he's got options, you know. And I think he's going to go for another big fight. And I think his warm-up fight was Errol Spence, quite frankly. That was his warm-up fight. And if he wants to do another hard fight, let him do it, you know. Hopefully this time he won't take as much punishment because he'll know what to do. Because he did get hit with some pretty hard shots by Errol. But he never looked buzzed or hurt. The only shot I think in the whole fight, the only shot I saw him get hurt in the whole fight was the 11th round with that body shot. Thinking about another shot that he might have gotten hurt, at least I saw him visibly get hurt with. Can't think of any other. Errol hurt him in the 11th though. That body shot was beautiful. I saw Errol land a couple body shots that I thought were beautiful in the fight, but didn't necessarily hurt Mikey Garcia like that. He hit him with a couple body shots. It was really good body shots. And Mikey landed a couple of really good body shots. I mean, some really good body shots. Good body work. Of course, I think he check hooked Errol in the second when Errol was coming in too hard. Because Errol's liable to get hit with a shot when he's mounting his offense. And Mikey caught him with a couple shots. Even in I think it was the 12th or the 11th, he hit him with a check hook as well. Errol need to be careful, man, because Mikey can hit, you know. And when you start going against guys who can actually crack, you got to be careful. But, yeah, I told you Mikey was going to be in shape. He was able to take Errol's punches. He was able to handle Errol's power. The only thing he was not able to do was mount his offense like he wanted to. That's the aspect of the game that was found wanting, and that has to do with boxing. And so that's where Errol outsmarted him, outworked him, you know. And you have to give Errol the credit for that because he used what he needed to use to keep Mikey off. Anyway, guys, that's what I got to say. You leave your comments in the comment section if you so wish. Yeah, man. It's good, man. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Peace. Yeah.